prepare a meal for your family, not being able to go and worship in your house of worship, what that must be like, that feeling of isolation. So I bet that some of you have recently kind of felt that tug of isolation and what that must be like. What are ways that we create our own isolation? What are some ways that we isolate from other people?
Well, it's interesting. For me, I've been contemplating this during this period of time where we keep hearing the word that we're isolated. So I started to contemplate on that. And I'm only as isolated as I want to be. So I started to change my mind about that again in my head. And I started to go out and walk and to see what was still out there. There's always something happening. The squirrels are out playing, they're still playing. Even me sitting in my apartment, every once in a while I'll hear the neighbor closing their kitchen cabinets. It's like, we're connected, we're all in this together. This is a different type of an isolation in that it's just not me individually. I can still reach out to, well, that's been one of my goals, into changing it, is every day trying to reconnect with some people that I haven't connected with in a long time. So this isolation, I've been wanting a silent retreat. Much for what you ask for, sometimes, but I mean, it's perfect. And again, it was me changing my mindset about what isolation really was.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, absolutely. Russell, what are some ways that we can isolate from other people? What are the things that keep us separate? Maybe is even a better word.
And I like that. It helped me with the question. We can judge one another. We can think of somebody as lesser than, or maybe not intelligent, smart, good-looking, religious, spiritual enough, loud, quiet. We can isolate ourselves by maybe an individual selfishness. I want this, I want that, me first.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good start.
It is a great start. It's a great start. I think that part of this pausing and being quiet and this having to be more conscious as we connect to people has really brought into my awareness the things that we do every day in our lives that separate us from others. Whether that's being busy all the time, whether that's being over-involved in something, or there's just so many ways that I'm beginning to see our devices that we are depending on right now and that we are loving are also cause for separation, right? You know, you can be in the same room with someone, but if they've got their phone out and they're surfing the net, they're not really present with you. Right? And I think we've probably all had moments of that, or where someone was talking to us and the phone will vibrate. It takes everything within me not to like, I get it, right? And so all of those things, I think, serve to isolate us. And I've certainly become more aware of those, I think, with the things that are going on around us. Blood, metaphysically. So if we look at this story metaphysically, blood represents how we express spiritual principle or truth in our daily lives. It is the essence of spiritual energy that has the potential to cleanse consciousness. And so if you think about this woman and the fact that she was hemorrhaging every day, she's losing blood every day she's losing blood. In so many ways, what that represents is all of the things that drain the life force out of us. All of the things that take away from us being fully present. All of the things that keep us feeling like we're not connected. Right? You talked about that a little bit, about kind of that isolation. What are some of the things that drain us, drain our life force, cripple us? What do you think?
We touched upon quite a few of them already. If I look at it personally, sometimes it still goes back to that feeling of me first. I do find myself in the position where I work too often, work too much, and it drains me. When I come home, some of the things I want to do and accomplish, I can't. I feel tired. I don't have the energy. So sometimes we have to find a way to keep our energy levels up. And this poor woman, in the situation she's in, how could she possibly do that? And then on top of the world looking down on her, going, you know, you, outcast. And that must have been very difficult. I would have to say generally then I'm blessed. I don't have real crippling things in my life. I haven't yet. I'm curious to know what you think as well.
Penny, any thoughts about that?
Well, what drains me or what drained me in the past, it's not draining me right this moment. I mean, look around. Again, I'm just going to go back to it's in my head. My head, my thoughts are usually the bottom line of what is draining me. If I change the way I think, what drained me for a long time in my life was not thinking that I was loved, that nobody liked me, and that's just farthest from the truth. But I thought it, and so it would drain me. Or thinking that I was totally alone, and I'm never alone. So it's my own thoughts that can drain me.
Which is a great segue into the crowd. So in the story, she has to press past the crowds. So you're thinking about a woman who's in isolation, right? Because she's bleeding. And she's been on the outskirts of life for 12 years. And here's this crowd, hundreds of people in a crowd pressing around Jesus and following them. And she had to kind of maneuver her way through the crowds to get to him. So we know that metaphysically, anytime there is a grouping of something, it almost always has to do with our thoughts. So that crowd represents all of our thoughts, right? All of our thoughts that keep us separate. So you did a great job about talking about, and you too, about these thoughts of, I have to have it my way. It has to be the way I think it is. I am not enough. I am not lovable. All of those thoughts are that crowd that keep us from our own healing. And you know, healing is really just about recognizing our own wholeness. Knowing that we are safe, that we are well, that we are loved, and that we're always one. That we are never ever separated from God. That's really what true healing is all about. So she pressed past all of those thoughts. And it tells us that Jesus said to her, your faith has made you well, right? Your faith. So let's think about faith for a minute. In Hebrews 11:1 is one of my favorite descriptions of faith. There we go. Where it talks about that, Hebrews 11. I said 1. It's actually Hebrews 11. Oops. Now faith is the assurance of things hoped for, and the conviction of things not seen.
Will you say that again?
Faith is the assurance of things hoped for, and the conviction of things not seen. So when you think about assurance, what do you do Russell, when you're assuring Patricia, what does it mean to assure someone?
To let her know what she does is appreciated, that it's good, that I think that she thinks and is healthy spiritually as well as mentally and physically. I assure her by sharing my love for the support that she offers to me. I try to assure her in ways where she can see spiritually from her knowledge and where she's been that and I say it to her all the time, I'm coming. I'm coming along, and hopefully that assures her that what she's doing and who she is right and is good.
Awesome. Great examples. Penny, how do you assure people? What does it mean to assure someone?
I believe in the power of listening, which means really hearing what the person is saying, for me to seek to understand and to make it okay, whatever they're feeling, validate that feeling and have empathy and compassion.
Awesome. And so, what are we doing when we are assuring people? What is it that we're doing?
Lifting them up.
Lifting them up, right? Mm-hmm. And so, when we think of the assurance of things, faith is the assurance of things hoped for. Think of reassurance. So both of you did a great job of kind of talking about how we reassure people. Assurance, according to Merriam-Webster's dictionary, is the guarantee of. So think about that. When we are reassuring someone, what I heard both of you say consistently, when we're reassuring someone, we're lifting them up, we're supporting them, we're assuring them that we are there for them, that we're present.
Nice.
Right? That we're present. I'm here for you.
And I have to do it for myself.
Yes.
I have to reassure myself. I have to be there for myself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so faith is that part of us that knows, right? That knows that what we are hoping for is possible. That what we're hoping for can actually happen. So, the woman says, if I but touch his clothes, I will be made well. If I but touch his clothes. So there was something in her. There was an assurance that said, you can be healed. It's possible that you can be healed. What are some ways, when I think about the fear factor and the anxiety factor going on right now in the midst of all of this, how do we have the assurance of things hoped for? How do we demonstrate that? The assurance of things hoped for. How do we, probably a better question maybe is, how do we instill hope in others? I've been listening to Oprah all week. I've been doing meditations with her and Deepak, and hope has been our topic this week. So how do we instill hope in others? What do you think, Penny?
I'm not quite sure if I can answer the question. What's coming to my mind right now is that me knowing that God is there with me all of the time. He is with those people who are not sick, like me and you, people in this room. He's here with us right now. But he's also there with those people who are sick. He's everywhere. And he's with the people who are dying. there's hope and there is healing. The healing might not take place on this side.
Yeah. It's a great reminder. That healing doesn't always mean that we physically stay here.
Right.
Yeah, awesome. What do you think, Russell? What are some ways that we can assure people hope? How we can give people hope?
You know, once again, if I just look at who I am and what I'm doing every day and where I'm at, and I can hear people talking about the good, the bad, we're broke, we're not going to work, or we're going to get sick, or we got to afford this, we've got to have that, what are we going to do now? I truly find myself saying, it's okay, we're going to be just fine. There will always be work, we're going to get through, and I find myself constantly making statements of affirmation to my friends and people that I run into, just on those subjects. It is okay. We are going to be okay. I may not bring up God or spiritual things or church, but I will. Sometimes I do. But most of the time it'll just be, no, that's okay. Put a smile on your face. Let it go. Just things like that that'll give them the faith that they'll be okay. They're all
Nice.
okay.
I love that you talked about affirmations. When I was listening to Oprah this morning, she said, let's see where I wrote that down at. Gratitude. She said something about hope and gratitude. Let me see if I can. Oh, there's my note right there. She said that the energy of hope has the power to eclipse fear and anxiety. The energy of hope has the power to eclipse fear and anxiety. And then she went on to say that gratitude is the quickest way to find hope. That the moment we start to be grateful is the moment we begin to have hope, and that our hope grows. And so I think all of us, this is a great opportunity that we're in right now. Great opportunity to think about gratitude and how that gives us hope. So,
Yep. So the other night I tapped into the meditation with Bob and you, and they asked me how I was doing, and my first response went to the negative, and I said I was bored. And then I stopped myself and said, well, let me start over again. But after that meditation, I thought about what I had said, that I was bored. And then I said, well, that thought process has to change. And so I went to gratitude. I mean, I have so much to do at home. There is so much to do. Like I said earlier, there's always something happening. You know, I can read, I have a television, I like to write, you can always clean. I've gotten some new recipes because I went to the grocery store and there was no hamburger, so I had to make my chili out of pork, so I'm getting some new recipes. I mean, there's always something, and that just changed everything for me.
absolutely.
In the way, you know, I've been living the last few days.
And so I would challenge each of us, right, to make a practice, if we don't already have it as a practice, to make a practice of starting your day with gratitude, ending your day with gratitude,
Right.
even in the midst of
How many
this.
people don't have what I have?
Yes.
I mean, I have a hot shower, for Pete's sakes. How many people out there right now don't have a hot shower?
Don't have a home.
Don't have a home?
Don't have shelter.
We have toilet paper.
Right. Patricia says they have toilet paper at her and Russell's house. So we all know where to go, right? If there's a shortage, we can go visit them.
I've always been a hoarder of toilet paper, so I don't have to worry about that. But I do panic when I start running out of chocolate.
So yes, finding in the midst of this, the gratitude. I believe that that is what is going to help us turn the tide. I believe that it's the being grateful, right, that will take us out of the fear and anxiety, that will take us out of the worry, and will move us into a place of hope. Because I don't know about you, but I ain't done yet. I am not, COVID-19 is not taking me under, because I ain't done yet. I got too much to do on this planet yet.
Yes.
Too many fun things to experience. Too many kayak trips to take. So let's start with some gratitude. And and when we can encourage others, that's part of that assurance. What I've noticed is gratitude is contagious. So too much time on my hands makes for tearing things up at home. So I do one of two things when I have too much time. I cook a lot. I've been sending pictures to Amanda of all the good things I've been cooking. And I tear things up. So I'm tearing up the second bathroom now. and we're in the process of putting it back together. So we're in Lowe's. And Lowe's has taken some very extreme safe measures. They now have these big plexiglass screens that separate them from you, and they wipe everything down in between each customer, and there's little X's on the ground where you can stand. And I could just tell that the lady that was waiting on us, that she was just so frustrated by this whole process. It's just a lot more extra for them. And I just smiled at her and I said, I really appreciate you being here. And I know that all of this extra isn't probably easy. But just know, I'm glad you're here today. And, immediately you can see the shift in her face. You can immediately see the shift, see her body relax. And it was like, oh.
Wasn't that assurance?
Yes, exactly. And so, part of our job, I believe part of why we're here and part of being a unitic is assuring other people, giving them that assurance of hope. And I believe that we do that with gratitude. Like telling people it's going to be okay, they may or may not be able to hear that. But they can hear thank you, I appreciate you, I'm so grateful the sun is shining today. Like they can hear that. And so...
And the other thing about that is that she was seen. You saw her.
Yes.
And that's so important, I think, to really see people.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And even in this story, when you think about this story, so she touches the hem. Jesus says, whoa, who touched me, right? And I'm sure in that moment she was like absolutely terrified. But yet, the healing occurred after Jesus recognized her. After she was willing to say, here I am. Here I am. That he was able to say, your faith, daughter, your faith has made you well. After he recognized her. I love that, Penny. That's great. The second part of that verse in Hebrew that informs us about faith is conviction. So let's talk about conviction. So what did she risk? Pushing past the crowd and touching Jesus, what did she risk?
She risked heckling, punishment, being stoned, locked up, because she wasn't supposed to be out in crowds anyway, or touching anybody.
All right.
So there was a big risk of just being noticed.
Mm-hmm.
Judgment.
And maybe one risk of is that faith real? Which I personally have that issue still in my life, and I'm working on that.
Mm-hmm.
Do I believe? I'm going to touch it, but do I believe enough? Little risk.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely a risk. So when we think about the risk she was taking, think about how convicted she must be, right? So convicted is convinced, right? It comes from the root word convince. So being strongly convinced or having a strong belief. So just to know, just to have this guarantee, this knowingness that what we're hoping for is going to come true isn't enough. There's also this conviction. So what does it mean when we're convicted in faith? What does that mean to you? To have conviction around your faith? Thoughts?
That's a hard one. And I thought about this one a couple times before we got here. And I might need a little help and a little push as to the direction of.
So a push is a great word to use, right? Because what did she have to do?
Push her way through the crowd.
She had to push her way through the crowd. So conviction is about conscious action, courageous action.
And I was going to say intent, setting her intent. She
Yes.
set an intent that this is what she was going to do.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I try to do every day, is set my intent to focus on God first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. She had to risk it all to press past her doubt, her fear, all that crazy thinking in her head. I know none of us have any of that. Shame, feeling not worthy, not good enough, not lovable. She had to push past all of that to receive her healing. So when you think about where we are right here, right now, in our journey, both personally and collectively as humanity, how does faith play a role in this? And how we get through this? On how we manage our anxiety and our fear? What role does faith play?
For me, it's everything.
Yeah. And so how is that faith demonstrated? How do you demonstrate your faith?
So faith to me is believing, like I said. I get up every morning and acknowledge God first. That's how I demonstrate my faith. He's there. He's with me all the time. No matter what happens, whether I get sick or I'm not sick, He's going to be there.
Absolutely.
Again, it's my thought and how I'm thinking about it.
Beautiful. Anything you want to add, Russell?
I find, I guess, faith, for me to continue to clean my mind, clean my heart, add new things to it, new thoughts to it, slowly but surely affirmations to it, continuing to be grateful for what I have, and knowing in the back of my mind, in the back of my heart, that this presence of God is intense and extreme and a lot closer than I imagine and think most of the time. But since I admit I often don't always feel it, or that faith, then I will continue my faith by continuing to press forward in it and find it and look for it.
Nice. And so, friends, it's about time for us to wrap it up, right? It's almost at the end of the hour. So I always like to ask a bumper sticker. If you have a bumper sticker you want to offer, if you're on Facebook Live, you can put it in your comments. If you are on Zoom this morning, you can put it in your chat. So if you were going to write a bumper sticker about today's message, what would your bumper sticker be?
Keep the faith, baby.
Aha! Keep the faith. What do you think, Russell?
Wow, just nothing's coming out of my face yet.
All right. Mine would be faith-filled, courageous action. Anyone else? All right, I don't see anything in our chat. You have to yell it really loud because they can't hear you, Patricia.
Okay. Faith brings peace.
Faith brings peace. Awesome. Awesome, awesome. All right. We are going to wrap up with a song.